Are we live? Okay, here goes nothing. I- I- uh, in the beginning, in the beginning, in the beginning, no, in the beginning, in the in the beginning, no, hold on. In the beginning, no, people, I was just messing with you. Everybody, welcome to Take on Life Live with Joji D. This is your host, Joji D, and I'm going to be sharing my perspective with you live here every Saturday, 8 p.m. Saudi Arabia time, whatever that coordinates to your local time, wherever you are. And this is going to be my take on life. I will be sharing and telling you how I see life happening and what is my take on different subjects. Now for today, the subject that I've chosen, or the topic for today, is choices and success. And we will definitely get to that. But before that, let me tell you one thing. As I said, this is going to be my take on life, how I see life, and what I have gathered through my experiences throughout being in different countries and different continents and different places. As we go along, I'll share my experiences and let you know where I have been through and what I have done in my life. But let me just say to you, if you are one of those people who strongly believes that there's a happy ending for every story, and all the fairy tales end up with a very, very happy ending, yeah, that's not the case. You should definitely stick around, because this half an hour or my sessions are going to be an awakening for you and a revelation for you, because I'm going to be telling you things that your mama never told you. So let me give you an example. What I mean by that is that if you're one of those people who believes that every fairy tale has a happy ending and you live in a fantasy world, then you should definitely, I strongly suggest and recommend that you should definitely come into these sessions, because what I'm going to be taking on life and sharing my perspective is going to be a revelation for you. For example, everybody has heard that story, and if you believe that story is true, or what you have been learning so far, it's the story of Snow White. Snow White was a little princess that wasn't really liked by her mother, or I don't remember the full story, but it ended something like that she went into the forest and she ate an apple. She was living with like 7 little dwarfs, and then she ate an apple, and then apple made her like faint, and then she was laying there in the forest, and then voila, there comes this Prince Charming, and he sees this beautiful girl laying in the middle of the forest where there's nobody around to watch what's happening, and then he kisses her, and then that breaks the spell, and then this princess wakes up and she's like, oh, you're my Prince Charming, I love you, and they both fall in love and they end up getting married. That's the story that you have been told. That's the story we have been told, and we have learned and read that through all our life. So my take on that story is that's a bunch of bull. Yeah, that the real life is like not like that. First of all, if that girl was even let go and she was living in the forest, I could buy that. That's fine. Her mother abandoned her, and then she went to the forest. That's okay, no problem. Shit happens. It happened to her. She went there. She was living in the forest. But what I have a problem with is the whole idea and whole story of this Prince Charming. Yeah, you're right, she wasn't that little, but the story's geared towards little girls. So the problem I have, or my take, is that that little Prince Charming, or that Prince Charming who has been made to believe like the savior of the day, who came and kissed the girl and broke the spell. Yeah, if that were to happen today, that Prince Charming would be getting 5 to 10 years in prison. Or if it was Muslim prince, he would be leashed 80 times, because what kind of a psycho sees a girl laying in the forest and starts kissing her? Yeah, think about it. So what? That's my take on it. If that were to happen today, that's not realistic. That's not how real world works. What works is that if you see somebody laying in the forest, you should first call 911 if you don't know how to give them first aid. Don't try to be their Prince Charming. That's just a bunch of crap that we have been taught since growing up. And that's what leads to problem. All these little girls growing up, they're thinking of finding their Prince Charmings and idols and their ideals in strangers that they don't know. Whatever, we're gonna move on from that. That was just to give you an idea that my take on life is going to be a lot different, and it's going to be a lot different than what you're accustomed to. All the stories that you've been told, pretty much not true. So, after that, let me tell you one more thing. What I have found out, it's been like what? It's been 3 weeks now that we have been in quarantine. And I've been doing a little research, and according to my research, there's items that are flying out fast. And after 3 weeks, what I have found out, what's the item that's flying out fast out the door is pregnancy tests. Week 1 was okay. Week 2 was, I think, week 1 was toilet papers. Week 2 was toothpaste. Week 3, it's been 3 weeks now, and the item that's selling the most this week is the pregnancy tests. I guess people want to know and they want to find out. It's been 3 weeks. People don't know what's happening, where the future's going. So it's good that people are taking care of it. So on that note, I would tell you people, if you go out, please do wear gloves. Don't go out without wearing gloves, and be safe. And now, I'm not Nostradamus and I can't tell you the future, but what I can tell you is that next week, the most selling item off the shelf is going to be contraceptives. Because all these people that are buying pregnancy tests this week are either going to be holy crap, or they are going to be like, oops, better wrap it up. So stay safe. That's the whole idea of quarantine. And as I said, people, one more thing I'm going to say, and I'm just going to let it out. And to be fair, and honestly, it's not for me, it's not my voice. This is for a friend. For a friend. One of my friends says that, there's a shortage of cigarettes. There's a shortage of nicotine products happening after 3 weeks and 4 weeks of lockdown. People are not able to get their nicotine kick. So listen, world, that's not what we want. We don't want a bunch of nicotine deprived people out on the street that are already socially isolated. It is a fact that people that smoke are really social. They go out and talk to strangers. They love talking to strangers. Now, in times like this, when these people can't do that, don't take their nicotine away. As I said, this is strictly for a friend. It's not my voice. I'm just letting you people know. So if you want volunteers, I'll volunteer. I'll go to the places. I'll pick them packs up. I'll take them to different places and I'll distribute them. I want to do whatever I can to make this place a sane place. All right. Now, that was my first banter. It's on my page. The link is on my page. Go to the page. Well, just to let you know, I've been getting some comments that it is not live. Yes, the video is not live on my profile. This is going live through my page that I have created and shared the link with all the messages today and forward. The page is called Take on Life Live with Joji D, and the handle to find that on YouTube is @Live with Joji D. So if you go to the search bar for Facebook and type @Live with Joji D, that's going to take you to the page, and I'm going live from there. All right, people. So I'm not going to make this a whole waste of your time. I'm not going to talk about all the banter that I need to talk about. I am going to be sharing something that is really useful. And the first thing, and every week I'm going to share that is useful, is that I have a friend who is a doctor. Not a doctor of, he's a doctor, but not your regular MBBS doctor. He is a doctor of homeopathy, or the people that do medicine with herbs and herbal, whatever you call them. I really don't know what the exact terminology is. But that guy is a real doctor. He has a degree in that field of studies, and he is a published author. He also wrote a book. And his book, although is in Urdu, here's his book. His book is called Kitchen Clinic. And what this book is about is that writes remedies for different diseases, be it common cold, be it headaches, be it body pain or whatever, all the normal and usual situations or health problems that we face. It goes, I think, all the way up to sugar and Pakistan's most common problem, male infertility. It deals with that too. So he writes these remedies using herbal items, and especially items that are easily available in your kitchen. Hence, the book is called Kitchen Clinic. So I'm going to be every Saturday sharing a tip from that book, so you can see all these ingredients. They are readily available in your kitchens. And if you see a symptom or a disease, you could quickly refer to, all right, before I start calling 911 or before I go to the doctor to get a Panadol or a cold and flu medicine, let me try this at home. So what I'm going to share today from this book is going to be the cure or remedy for influenza. Influenza, more commonly known as flu, that happens every year, that happens to pretty much everybody. It's a virus that goes around and people catch it and then pretty much goes away by itself. It's just amazing. What's the worst that could happen? You're going to sneeze, you're going to cough, and you're going to have a runny nose, you're just have headaches, and you're not going to feel good. Go to the doctor, and pretty much doctor's going to tell you, yeah, go steam yourself or take like Panadol cold and flu or Advil cold and flu. Fine, if you want to do that, that's fine. But if you're one of those people who believes that I don't want to be taking allopathy medicines that much, I would rather try some home remedies or grandma's tales. Well, to be fair, these are not grandma's tales. These are by a doctor who holds a degree in this particular field. So one of these days, I'm going to take him on live on this show so he could tell you more about how this whole science of herbal mixtures and herbs and medicine work. But for right now, I'm going to share one of his tips from his books. And in order to do that, I'm going to call upon my great friend, Dr. D. I don't know if you know Dr. D or not. He is a doctor. I don't know why he calls himself a doctor, but he is a doctor. So here it is, Dr. D, so he can share something from Kitchen Clinic. Just give me a second so I can call him on. All right, here's Dr. D, and as I said, I'm going to be sharing a caption or a passage from one of my friend's books, Kitchen Clinic. This is your cure for normal flu and cold influenza. So what you're going to need for that is you're going to need dry ginger and cinnamon and cloves. So this recipe is quantified by grams, but I'm going to let you know in parts also. So if you're going to do in grams, what you're going to need is you're going to need 1 gram of cloves, and you're going to need 2 grams of ginger. Yep, 2 grams of dry ginger, and you're going to need 4 grams of cinnamon. If you want to make it in parts and you don't have a weighing scale, what you can do is you can take 1 part cloves, 2 parts dry ginger, and 4 parts of cinnamon. Put them in a grinder, grind them to powder, make a powder of it. And then once you've made the powder, put it in a little jar, and every time you see the symptoms of cold and flu influenza, take a little teaspoon, put it in your tea, or put it in your green tea, or just take it with the warm water, I guess. I think you can't have it with Coke or Diet Coke or Pepsi. I would rather do that. But it's just that take it with regular water. All right, just give me 1 second. I am trying to connect my wife to the page so she can also see. I am typing. All right, there it is. The show is going live. There it is. And she is online now. Sorry for that interruption. You know, Mrs. comes the first. If she wants to see it, she needs to see it, and she's going to be the first one online. So yes, again, going back to the home remedy or your kitchen clinic remedy for influenza and cold and flu is you're going to need dry ginger, you're going to need cinnamon, and you're going to need cloves. 1 part clove, 4 parts cinnamon, and 2 parts dry ginger. Grind them up in a powder form, and every time you have symptoms of flu or influenza, take a teaspoon with your tea, or take a teaspoon with honey, or take a teaspoonful with warm or lukewarm or regular room temperature water. That's what you can do for that. All right, that was my tip from Kitchen Clinic. So, buddies, let's start talking about what we came here to talk about, and what I basically came here to talk about, and what y'all came here to listen. I'm going to talk about choices. The choices that we make and how they relate to us, and how they make who we are, and how they make us a successful person, or determine if we're going to be successful or not. Now, how I see it, everything, pretty much everything except for 1 or 2 is basically a choice. If it's made for you, or it's a choice made by you. And what I mean about that is, let's look at, where does life start? Life starts when you're born. Now, you being born is also a choice. It might not be your choice, but 2 people, a man and a woman, chose to do what they did, and as a result of that, you were born. So it was somebody's choice. Somebody made a choice, somebody did something, and then you were born as a result of that choice. Now, you were conceived as a choice. After that, they had a choice to have that baby or not have that baby. If they choose to have a baby, then you're born. Everything up to that point is a choice. It might not be your choice, but it is somebody else's choice. After you are born, now, there's one thing that is not a choice, and that is that you're born a human. You being born as a human is not a choice, because it can't happen. If a male human or a female human decide or choose to have a baby, it's going to be a human baby. There's no choice involved in it. At least up till now, or all the science that I know, there's no choice in it. The baby is going to be human. So that's one thing. As I said, there's few things that do not involve choice. That is one of the things that does not include or involve any kind of choice. If a male and a female are going to have and choose to have a baby, the baby is going to be a human baby. So that's where you were. You were born as a human. After that, there's options. You are either born as a boy, or you're either born as a girl. Those are the only choices. Now, nowadays, with science being so advanced, that there is some sort of bioengineering going on, and parents can choose to either have a boy or a girl even before the baby's born. So that's why I said that's, again, a choice. Maybe not your choice, but somebody else's choice. So up until this point, the only thing that has not happened with choice is that you're born a human. Everything else is choice. After you're born, the second thing that I believe is not a choice is that what race or what ethnicity you were born into. I'm not talking about nationality. Nationality is a choice. I'm talking about race or ethnicity. That is not a choice. You can't choose. If I am of Pathan and a brown ethnicity or Indian ethnicity, I can't have a Caucasian baby unless I marry a Caucasian girl. Then it's going to be mixed race. Or if 2 African American people choose to have a baby and both mother and the father is African American, they can't choose to have a Caucasian baby. Or if 2 Chinese people get married and choose to have a baby, they can't choose or they can't opt out for having an African American baby. That's another thing that is not a choice. So far, we have determined that apart from 2 things, 1, you being born as a human, and you being born into the race that was the input for you being born, those are not choices. Everything else from that point onwards is a choice. What's your name gonna be? Your parents choose it for you. They can name you a really nice name. My parents chose to name me Junaid. Your parents might choose to name you Muhammad. They might choose to name you John. They could choose to name you West. They can choose to name you whatever they want. Hell, there was this guy who was known as Prince, and then he didn't like it, so he was like, whatever, I'm gonna change my name to a symbol. So, just so you know, having a name or choosing a name is upon us. That's a choice that we make, and however ridiculous that choice might be, it is still a choice. It can be made, and that was made, and people do that. There is a human being that called himself a symbol. Now, everybody has hard time pronouncing his name, and they call him artist, formerly known as Prince. But the point is, everything is a choice. Now, what religion you're going to be, that's also a choice. Normally, parents choose the religion for the child because he was born into a Muslim family, he's raised as a Muslim. He was born into a Christian family, he was raised as a Christian. He was born in a Jewish family, Sikh family, Hindu family, whatever. But these are choices that somebody makes. Now, it might not be my choice, and it might not be your choice, but it is a choice that somebody made for you. After that, what country you're going to live in, what education you're going to have, what school you're going to go to, it's all choices. Even you make them or somebody makes them for you, but everything is a choice. So to the point that what do you want to eat, what colors you like, what car you like, the people you hang out with, the family you want to hang out with, these are all choices you have. You don't want to wear color purple, don't wear color purple. That's your choice. Everything in your life from that day onwards, after those 2 or 3 choices were made by somebody else, it's your choice. Now, one more thing that is not a choice is that everybody's gonna die. I'm gonna die, you're gonna die. That's just the fact of life. That is the third and last thing that is not the choice. Everything else is a choice. Now, why I want to make that clear, the reason I want to make that clear is that normally you would see people like, hey, that's a successful man, or that guy, what the hell happened to him? How did he end up like that? And people in general blame the choices they have made. You talk to somebody who's very successful and be like, hey, what got you here? And they're like, hey, I made some good choices. Or you talk to people like, hey, what ended you up in jail? Or what ended you up in this certain condition? And people always blame the choices that they have made. In my opinion, my take on that is that's wrong. It's not the choices that make you or break you. It's not the choices that determine whether you're going to be successful or not. It's the way you deal with your choices. Even if they're your choices, that's fine. If they're not your choices, that's also fine. Whatever choice is made, the point is how you deal with that choice. Because a choice in itself is a decision, and that's a snapshot in time. And the other mistake that we do is we start judging our choices right after we make them towards end goal. We make a choice, we make a decision based on how we want it to turn out. What we really need to do is, while making a decision, look at not how I want this to turn out, but how this could end up. I'll give you an example, and this is a really something close to my heart because I went through this. Once when I was in college, when I was getting done with college, after the graduation, the next logical step was to get married. And I was like, fine, let's make a choice. I wanted to get married. And at that time, I was dating a Caucasian, a white girl. I had a choice. And my choice was like, all right, I marry her, or I go by what my parents are suggesting. Now, I could have looked at my choice and looked at it from a point of view, what I wanted to happen with my choice. But what I did was I looked at it, yes, that was in Chicago. So what I looked at was that what could end up happening if I make this choice. and I looked at all the pros and all the cons of it, and I did not judge my choice based on that moment. I looked into I guessed my future, that if I make this choice, what's going to happen? What could end up? Not what I want to happen, but what could possibly happen. And looking out at all the possible outcomes, I made my decision. I came to a conclusion, and my decision was based on, if let's say there's 4 or 5 possible outcomes, can I live with them? Because success is also I think success is also about perspective, how you look at it. Because my interpretation of success might not be your interpretation of success, and my interpretation of failure would not be your interpretation of failure. How we determine who's successful or not is totally subjective, how you look at things. Now, what I believe success is that if you're happy and content in what you're doing, you are successful. It might not be about you're making $1 million. It might be about making $1 million a month, or like having a great car, having a big house. No, to me, success is if you're happy and you're content with what you're doing. So let me give you another example. And people that follow sports would understand that. I'm going to try to make it really simple. Let's say a team that is really not that good, or bottom seed, is playing the team that is top seed. Expectations are pretty low. Nobody expects them to win, and they end up losing the game. Now, if you look at, and then they say, oh, it's a moral victory because we lost by 1 point, or we lost at the final shot. Success is how you define. And the only people that you can blame for your failures or your perceived failures is yourself. I can't turn around today standing here in my life looking at the mirror and go back and say, oh, I failed because so-and-so made a decision, or because that decision that I took in that certain amount of time or that certain point in my life. The only reason I don't have the favorable outcome or the outcome I wanted from that decision is because I did not work with my decision. The things that I did after taking that decision. It doesn't matter who took the decision. It doesn't matter if it was calculated or not. The point is, a choice was made. If you are willing to work with the choices that are made either by yourself or for you by somebody else, I can guarantee that you will turn that into success. Because anything, any choice, that's just a snapshot in time. What needs to be done is to work with those choices. And as long as you're willing to work on your choices with a positive attitude, you can turn anything around. It doesn't have to be the way that you want it to be, because life is not fair. Life is not like, it's not always going to turn about like how you want it to turn out. Life's going to happen. The more you accept the realities and more you start working with the choices that are made for you or by you, the happier and the more content and more satisfied you're going to be with that. So that was my take on choices and success. I strongly believe the choices are choices that what we make. It could be a choice of finding a job, finding a partner, moving to a different country, getting a different nationality. Whatever choices you make, those are just choices. They do not determine whether you're successful or not. What determines whether you're successful or not is how you deal with those choices. If you take those choices and start crying about them, that wasn't my choice, somebody made it for you, I wasn't thinking clearly, I didn't know everything, you could be negative about it and keep crying. You're never going to turn that into success. If you realize what's done is done, the choice is made, it is what it is, life's happening, and I'm going to deal with it in a positive attitude, make the best out of it, then I can guarantee you're going to turn things around, and every choice that you make and every decision that you make is going to turn out to be a successful decision. That was my take on it. So, I'm gonna wrap this up for this week. It's been half an hour. There was a lot more I wanted to talk about, but I think we'll continue it next week. And for next week, I'm gonna be giving you my take on relationships, how they work, what's my take on relationships, what I have seen in relationships. And it's not going to be just one relationship. We're going to talk about friendships, we're going to talk about your loved interest, and we're going to talk about your relationship with your parents, we're going to talk about relationship with your siblings and everything. So that would be my take on relationships next week. For this week, that was it. Let me just round it up for you. As I said, before you go out, stay safe. And my take on choices is that your choices don't determine your success or your failure. What determines your success or failure is how you deal with the choices that you make. Until next time, that is it. I'm going to be posting this video on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is at Joji D, Joji capital D. Please subscribe to it, share that. I need like it, subscribe it, share it with your friends. This video is going to be posted there tomorrow. And then I will see all of you next week. Thank you for tuning in. Love for all. And next week, we're going to talk about relationships and my take on relationships. Thank you very much, people. See you next Saturday, 8 p.m. Saudi Arabia time.